and welcome back to my knitting podcast. My name is Sophie, but I'm better known as the Knit Purl Girl over on Instagram, Ravelry, and here on YouTube. I am back again with another monthly podcast episode. If you are new to my content, hello, welcome, thank you for being here. I am a full-time knitwear designer and I live in the south of England. It's been a weirdly busy month, more busy than I expected, which has been nice, but it's also meant that I've kind of had to get my head down and focus on stuff that I wasn't expecting to have to focus on. Frustratingly, I can't tell you what that is yet, but I should be able to in a month. So tune back in if you're curious. Sorry to be vague, I know it's annoying. But yeah, it's been a really nice month though, I can't complain. Because I was busy, I didn't get around to finishing the final edits for my beginners video, so that is coming, I think in 2 weeks. I've got that scheduled for. But I've got like 2 small sections of it to edit, and I always find this with tasks. If it's a big thing, I can do it. If it's like, oh, that'll take 5 minutes, I just put it off. I'm sure that's quite a common way of approaching things you don't want to do in the moment. But yeah, it's all right, it's all good, I can't complain. I've got 3 finished objects to talk about this month and 2 works in progress. I've kind of focused on a few different projects because I had to get them ready for test knitting or for pattern release. And then I'm just trying to get other stuff ready ahead of December because I'm sure that December will end up being busy too. So with all that said, I'm going to start as always by talking about what I'm wearing, which is my pattern release for this month, and it's the Orla Sweater. This is what my second sample looks like. Observant viewers will notice that this is not the same second sample as what I've been showing you up till now, and that's because I left it at a cafe and it got handed in and I haven't been able to trace it back down, which is mildly frustrating. So I kind of middle of the month had to panic order some more yarn, but I'm really glad that it happened in a way because I much prefer how this second sample looks, as annoying as it is to have, you know, lost probably 30 hours of work, but that's what you get for not being more organised with your possessions. So yeah, it's classic. I'm amazed it hasn't happened before, to be honest. I was at a cafe doing some work and I had, I think, 3 different tote bags. One of them had like this project in it because I was like, if I have time I'll knit as well. One had my laptop in and one was for buying some groceries, and I just didn't pick up the bag with the project in it, so yeah, my bad. But anyway, yeah, this is the Orla Sweater. As always, discount information and links to go purchase it if you would like to will be down below. It is a circular yoke sweater that is finished with some raglan shaping after German short row shaping, so you get a better fit at the arm. I find quite often with circular yokes that they can be quite bunchy at the underarm, and they don't sit neatly, they just kind of like are a bit awkward, and adding a few rounds of raglan shaping can really help with that. It's a very simple motif, so it's basically like a 4 round repeat that you just kind of work in different colours, and they are also on the cuff. There's 2 versions of the chart and they look more different than they are in the chart, if that makes sense. Like, it's still a 4 round repeat, it's just that for this version that I'm wearing, you're working the motif on rounds 2 and 3 of the 4 round repeat, whereas for the other version it's just on rounds 1 and 4. These are made with Arbon Textiles Harvest Hues Worsted weight, and very excitingly there are some kits available if you would be interested, so I will pop links below to Arbon for that. I bought this yarn myself, and yeah, I loved working with this yarn again. I really enjoyed working with this over the summer. So this is a navy blue base with light grey, bright red, ochre and light blue contrast colours. Very conveniently they do sell minis, so you can kind of, yeah, you don't have to worry about having kind of 75% of a 100-gram skein left over. You can be a lot more precise with your yardage, which is nice. And then this is a kind of taupe base, I'd say. And then I've used 3 different kind of berry shades. There's like a lighter berry, a darker berry and a brighter pink. And I've used that against a green, so you get this really nice, almost floral effect, which is really pretty. I wasn't going to use the green to begin with, and actually it's a mini skein that I had in stash from, I think when this yarn launched, they sent me some as a sample. So one mini skein here was gifted, I should say, and I thought it was a bit of an unexpected pairing, but it looked really pretty. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how this looks. For this sample I just did 1x1 rib, and for the original sample I did half twisted 1x1 rib. There's options for both in the pattern, but obviously it's just you twist your knit stitches on purpose for the twisted version and you don't for this version. Yeah, I really like this. I think it's going to be nice and autumnal feeling. I might have this as my Christmas sweater because I don't know, the colours do feel quite Christmassy. But yeah, all of the information will be down below, and thanks. Oh, I should add the Orla Sweater is worked on 4.5mm needles, US 7. If you know you're tight with the colour work, I do recommend going up to a 5mm US 8 whilst working this, but actually I didn't, and I think it's fine. I can't see any kind of awkward bump at the sleeve, which is what you normally see if your colourwork tension and your stockinette tension is a bit dodgy. Okay, other finished objects. So I finished my first Audrey sweater sample pretty much, I think, a couple of days after the last podcast went live. So this is a raglan sweater with a button detail on the raglan and lots of 2x2 rib. So it's got 2x2 rib collar that continues down the raglan seams and then also at the underarm into the hem. There was a lot of discussion in the comments in my last podcast about how long I should make the finished object, and that was actually really helpful. I think sometimes when I find sussing out the lengths of things quite difficult. I think by default I do tend to prefer a more cropped fit on myself. It's how I feel most confident. I find that where I'm quite short and with my body type, anything that's too long can feel a bit tunicky on me and a bit, I hate the word, but a bit frumpy. I just don't find it very flattering. But I did end up kind of making this a little bit longer than I normally would, kind of to balance out how much positive ease it has. This sweater has about, I think, 15 centimetres of positive ease on me, so about 6 inches. I think that's right. No, it has about 20 centimetres positive ease, so about 8 inches. So it is quite roomy. As you can see holding it up against me. I don't normally do that much positive ease for a raglan sweater because I find that it can look like it's too big as opposed to being purposefully oversized. And I have said in the test knit call, because this is currently open for testing until Monday the 1st of December, so I will pop a link to the application form if you did want to check that out, and I'll be in touch with everybody on Monday 1st of December. But yeah, if you did want to make it a size down, that's completely fine. I think particularly if you're very busty and your full chest measurement is about 10 centimetres, is over 10 centimetres bigger than your upper bust, upper chest, I probably would recommend sizing down. Because again, oversized to too big is quite a fine line, and I kind of want to give as much flexibility as possible. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this looks in the end. I decided to undo the split hem that I had done and just do a hem worked in the round, and I think that was the right decision. I'll have some b-roll of me trying it on, but yeah, I think it looks really nice. I'm very pleased with how the button raglan detail has ended up looking. In the final pattern I have placed the buttons a little bit closer together because these are a bit gapey, especially at the top, and actually are held together with stitch markers. So I've got a second sample on my needles at the moment. I need to go and buy some buttons because somehow I don't have any that are right for this piece, which is really annoying considering how many buttons I have in stash. You'd think that I would have at least 5 that would work, but no, I need to go back to Hobbycraft and get some more. But I've spaced these buttonholes a little bit closer together, and I've also suggested a slightly different method in the pattern. I just did these with knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, but I think you get a neater result if you actually cast the stitches off and then in the next row cast them back on using the backwards loop thumb method. So these are about 5 centimetres, 2 inches apart, whereas on this sample they're about 6 centimetres. And that should be a lot better, I think, because they are only a tiny bit gapey, but I think just having an extra button, because yeah, I've got 5 buttonholes here as opposed to 4 for this original sample. That's what I've done. I've kind of done the yoke and a little bit of the body. This has been I've had to get the train a lot this month, so this has been my train project, and it looks really nice in this grey. I think it's nice to be able to see the raglan details a bit more clearly. I'm not sure what kind of buttons to go for. I'm tempted to go for a darker wood. So these are, I wish I had these in the 20mm diameter. They're from Hobby, and they are the rosewood buttons, and I use these for my Lucy cardigan, and they are really lovely. And I think that dark wood against the grey could be quite nice, but I don't know. I'll go to the shops and see what I can get, and worst comes to worst, I can order some more from Hobby. But yeah, so for this sample I've used Camper's 2-ply yarn, which is Swedish wool, really lovely. I've worn this quite a lot. This has been my go-to sweater for my yoga classes this month. I seem to pick one every month and I'm like, this is my yoga sweater. And a strand of Isia Alpaca 1 in the shade Midnight. So it is a navy blue, but it's quite a complex navy blue. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick it up. Usually better than I think. But you can see there's some, hopefully you can see there's some purple and some red in there. So it is quite a nice dimensional colour. Really love that, so that's exciting. And then I've also made a version without buttons. So this is what it looks like without buttons. This is made with Zakami Organic Merino DK in the shade Momiji, which is one of the colours they had in their recent Colour Theory collection. I've got a hank left actually, let me show you. So I'm kind of fighting off a cold at the moment. We're going to Lisbon next week, which I'm so excited about. So I really don't want to get poorly, but I can feel my sinuses are like, oh, not super nice. But yeah, that's what that looks like in the hank. It is a really beautiful, quite a neutral shade of red, I'd say. It's not too blue, not too pink. If anything, it's slightly orange and kind of rusty in tone. And I think it is inspired by Japanese maple leaves, and it is that colour. It's a really beautiful, very autumnal shade of red. And yeah, that's what it looks like without the buttons. Much simpler, but still really nice. And because of the 2x2 rib stuff, it has still got a little bit going on. As I say, the test knit is open for both of these until 1st of December 2025. So if you're watching this in the future, that won't be much use to you, but until then, I will put a link down below. So yeah, those are the Audrey sweaters. Very excited about those. I'm tempted to make another sample just because I really like the design, but realistically I think that is not gonna happen because I don't think I'm gonna have time. Oh, but for this grey sample I am using this wool, which is 100%, oh my goodness, what is it? It's from Gullet Farm, who are based in the southwest. I want to say, ooh, where are they based? Let me look it up. I bought this out on Ravel Autumn last September. So it's just snuck over my have to use yarn within a year rule. Yep, they're based in Devon. And this is a blend of Romney and Hebridean wool. The label leaves a lot to be desired, to be totally honest, because there is no information about it. But I remember when I asked at the festival, it's 200 metres per 100 grams, so 220 yards. And it is a really lovely wool. It's worsted spun, but it's quite hairy and quite lofty. I would say picking a yarn for the Audrey sweater, you have got quite a lot of flexibility in it. So the tension is 18 stitches in stockinette stitch, 25 stitches in the 2x2 rib on a 4.5mm US 7 needle for me. And I've used quite different yarns for all of these. So for this grey sample, like I say, it is a worsted spun, quite sheepy wool, so it's quite lofty, even though it's worsted spun. It's quite light, but it is kind of a true DK in thickness and in weight, I would say, yardage. But it's knitting up fairly, if you can hold it, you know, it's not a totally open knit, but it's some light does penetrate. And then for the original sample, I've used a sport weight, very sheepy wool with a lace weight alpaca, which is quite heavy and dense. Because yeah, that's how it goes. But again, it is fairly open, and I'd say it's quite comparable to the Gullet Farm yarn in terms of, yeah, the kind of feel of the fibre, feel of the knit. But then the Zakami DK, Organic Merino DK fabric is much denser, and this is almost more of a, it is a DK weight yarn. It's 225 metres, 240-ish, 50-ish yards per 100 grams. So it kind of is a little bit, so on paper it should be a bit finer, but if anything it is thicker, and I think it's just where it's a very kind of plump, lovely knitting experience. I don't know. So because I had people asking me like, would you say use a DK weight yarn, use a worsted weight yarn? I was like, well, it's 18 stitches. If you can get 18 stitches, you're golden. But it doesn't matter too much really. And then the last thing I've got to talk about today really is my second Gwynver sweater sample. So this is coming at the end of December, and I'm currently working on the second sleeve. That's what it's looking like. I'm very pleased with it, I have to say. I love this colour so much. So this is made with Knitting for Olive, heavy merino in the shade Dove Blue. So that's it in the ball. Very, very pretty, quite a bright blue, but also it's not overly saturated. It's very, very nice, and I love heavy merino. It's a very dry merino wool, worsted spun, but it's quite lofty. It's very, very light feeling, and to touch, it almost feels like cotton. I think a lot of people get a bit disappointed when they first try this because they're expecting the feel of like this kind of merino, and they're quite different. Even though they're both non-superwash yarns, they are, I don't know, this has a much wetter feel to it, this feels much drier, but I think that makes it really good for texture work and cables. And as you can see, it does look really pretty and dimensional and lovely. I'll put a picture of my first sample here, which was made with a very different yarn from the Raw Wool Company based in Cornwall, and that is a worsted spun Romney and Dorset blend of fibres. Beautiful, beautiful. I would go grab it, but it's at the bottom of the pile of knits over there, and I don't want to have to refold them all because they never look quite as neat when I put them back. So yeah, I wasn't quite sure, because that is like a woolen spun yarn. It's really, really great for dimension, and it has quite a lot of character. I'm not the best person at explaining the difference between worsted and woolen spun, so I will pop a link in the description below if you are interested. But it has quite a big impact on stitch definition, again, particularly with lots of texture. But I think heavy merino is really nice for texture work. So this is a modified drop shoulder all over cabled piece, using some double moss stitch in the accents, and then a mixture of these kind of ladder stitches of garter stitch and twisted stitches, some mock eyelet cables, and some big old cables down the centre of the motif. Really quite simple to do. It's worked over a 12 round repeat, but you get the hang of it quite quickly, I think, I hope. The test knitters are doing a really great job, so if you're watching this and you're testing this pattern, thank you, you are fantastic. But yeah, I've got maybe another day's knitting on this to do. I would like to have this finished before we go to Portugal, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to because I've got quite a lot of editing to do, and it's my birthday on Monday, so doing some nice things over the weekend to celebrate. But we'll see. Once again, this has actually also worked on a 4.5mm US 7 needle. I don't know why, so I've been using this needle so much this month. It can't be good for my hands, so I need to be a bit careful and make sure that I am doing some more diverse projects next month, because yeah. I do, however, have plans to make a vest version of this before the pattern release, because it's going to be exactly the same, because it is a modified drop shoulder for all sizes. The underarm shaping is kind of ideally suited to just modifying to be a vest. So I'm just going to do like an inch of rib instead of doing the sleeves. And I'm going to use this yarn, which I also bought at the same Unravel Festival as the Gullet Farm grey yarn that I've shown you. And this is from Middle Campscott Farm. It's a really lovely woolen spun Shetland wool in this kind of minky grey colour, not dissimilar at all to Barley, which is the main colour that I'm wearing here. But it's really, really nice. I'm very excited to play with this a bit more. But yeah, that is the Gwynver. So that'll be in finished objects next time I see you. I am very excited. As soon as we booked our hotel in Lisbon, I did look up how close it is to the Rosaria Rosa Pomar shop, and it's a 20-minute walk, so I'm very excited and will be leaving space in my suitcase to pick something up there, because Rosa Pomar is not a brand I'm super familiar with, to be honest. I've not really ever used their yarn. I've tried it in shops quite a lot, I've squished it, but yeah, I'll definitely get some fun bits to try. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about this month was these. I am obsessed with these. They are from Joe's Toes. I will link them below, not an ad or anything, I just love them. And they're little sweater ornaments that you can decorate. They come ready pierced, so I bought some more. So yeah, they come like punctured. I hope you can see, maybe not. In little rings across the yoke. So you can decorate them, and they are just the cutest things. So I've got some red and some white, and I also got some stars like that, and my favourites, some little sheep. These are just so cute. So I'm going to make a garland with these. I think that might be my birthday activity on Monday, because they are just adorable. I love them so much. They're like as little as 50p to maybe £1.50 for these, and I can't recommend them enough. I cannot tell you how much joy these have given me, and they're quite a nice way to use up little scraps of yarn left over from projects. So I've used these two. I used what was left from the Sheltie to decorate these. Did like a nice little argyle effect with that one, and then just some funky texture work with that one. I won't show you the backs are not very pretty. I'm not very good at sewing, I'm not good at embroidery, but yeah, they're really cute. I cannot recommend these enough if you want like a little festive activity that isn't going to break the bank and is crafty but means you don't have to knit mini jumpers, because oh my god, I could not be bothered to do that. But I think that wraps things up for this month. Kept it quite short and sweet, so hopefully this hasn't been too dull to watch. I will be back, like I say, in a couple of weeks with that beginner's video. I've literally got like maybe 5 minutes of editing to do on it, and I will do it whilst I edit this podcast, so that's good. I'll get it all done at once. But yeah, I will see you with a new podcast at the end of December. I hope you have a lovely festive season between now and then, and I'll catch up with you later. Bye.